that Bucky?
That's not good.
After the crushing disappointment of Captain America Brave New World, Thunderbolts is a breath of fresh air. It's everything Captain America 4 wasn't. Captain America felt like it was designed by committee. It went into production with an incomplete script, it got reshot and retooled into a state of incoherence, it gave away everything mildly surprising in the trailers, and it doesn't have an ounce of genuine emotion. Thunderbolts, on the other hand, feels like director Jake Schreier actually knew what movie he wanted to make and what story he wanted to tell, figured out how he was going to do it before he started shooting, and Marvel didn't get in his way. It's a really fun comic book adventure with an endearing ensemble cast and a sympathetic villain, and in all its action spectacle, it never loses sight of the emotional core of the story. A group of lonely people who have done bad things trying to come together and do good things. The MCU has been very hit and miss since Endgame, but thankfully Thunderbolts is one of the hits.
We are the Thunderbolts!
Can't call ourselves that.
Thank God.
The Thunderbolts. It's a cool name.
This video will contain full spoilers for Thunderbolts. Florence Pugh got clowned on for comparing this movie to an A24 joint, but I can see where she's coming from. This is a very different kind of Marvel movie. Yes, it has all the usual quips, wider universe connections, and superhuman smackdowns, but it's also a lot darker than the average superhero blockbuster, with surprisingly shocking depictions of domestic violence, drug addiction, and dead children. And in its final act, it takes a weirdly abstract turn. MCU movies usually focus on fabricated external conflicts with arbitrary MacGuffins up the wazoo. The villain has sent the space elves to the Nebulon underworld, and we need the Scepter of Fate to open the Apex portal. None of it really means anything. It's just there to facilitate a predictable plot and jam in as many action set pieces as possible. But in Thunderbolts, everything in the plot is rooted in emotion. Early on, it sets up the Void as an emotional metaphor. It's not just another realm in the Marvel universe, it's that place inside your soul where you let all your despair and loneliness fester until it becomes self-destructive. The final battle initially sets up another rock'em sock'em superhero showdown on a decimated New York street, but then it goes into the void and takes a painful trip down memory lane. The climactic showdown isn't about who can punch the hardest, it's about who can love the hardest. On a mind-bending odyssey through the flashback void, the Thunderbolts go around punching their trauma in the face. Just about every movie these days uses trauma as a theme, but none of them have just given their trauma a good smack. And when the two sides of Sentry get into a fight, the Thunderbolts don't save the day with a punch, they save the day with a group hug.
Okay, that's enough. Could we please stop this?
When the team for the Thunderbolts movie was announced, there were a lot of complaints that they all have more or less the same powers. They're all mercenaries who are good at fighting. 3 of them are super soldiers. In the comics, the various incarnations of the Thunderbolts have featured a wide variety of superhumans, but the MCU version of the team all have a similar skill set. But honestly, that doesn't bother me that much. It's more important that they all have very different personalities that clash with each other and create an interesting character dynamic, and Thunderbolts pulls that off beautifully. Florence Pugh anchors the movie as Yelena Belova, who's grown disillusioned with her work as a killer for hire and wants to do something more fulfilling. She's dryly hilarious and a total badass, but Pugh also brings a deep vulnerability that makes the character a relatable lead. Sebastian Stan is typically great as Bucky, the OG reformed bad guy who has no patience for the other Thunderbolts. Wyatt Russell gives another brilliant turn as John Walker, the less than honorably discharged ex-Captain America, who's still pretty arrogant but has been humbled by his mistakes. David Harbour's Alexei as the wild card.
Wild card, bitches!
Harbour is having a ton of fun with this character, and the fun is contagious, but he also has a real dramatic arc. He wants to reconnect with Yelena, and the moment she stops calling him Alexei and starts calling him Dad really feels earned, and it really got to me. It would have been interesting to see what Stephen Yeun would have done with the role of Bob. I'm sure he would have been great, but Lewis Pullman was fantastic in this part. He really captures the neurosis and the sensitivity and the emotional instability, and even after all the terrible things he does in the guise of Sentry, Bob himself never loses your empathy. I loved seeing Julia Louis-Dreyfus in her biggest MCU role yet. Valentina is a ruthlessly ambitious, shamelessly unscrupulous political figure who masquerades her own lust for power as concern for the public's welfare, and she doesn't care who she fucks over along the way. In that sense, it's basically like watching Selina Meyer try to reassemble the Avengers, which I enjoyed to no end.
What are you laughing about, jolly green jizz face?
The action scenes in Thunderbolts have a refreshing sense of clarity. Schreier doesn't overuse cuts. It's always clear who's where, what's going on, where the danger is, and how the characters are dealing with it.
Engaging defensive measures. There's not supposed
Oh my god.
I don't make this comparison lightly, but it reminded me of the way Steven Spielberg directed the action sequences in the Indiana Jones films. I loved seeing Yelena take out a hallway of goons as effortlessly as her sister. I loved seeing Bucky get his Terminator moment, and I especially loved the sweeping wonder of all the Thunderbolts trying and failing to take out Sentry. That sequence put the Superman vs. the Justice League sequence to shame.
Kal-El, no!
Thunderbolts follows the familiar Guardians of the Galaxy formula. A bunch of anti-heroes put their selfish interests aside and come together to do something good. They start out hating each other and eventually come around to love each other. But it works. We saw with last year's Borderlands movie that it's not so easy to make the Guardians formula work. But with a well-matched ensemble and Schreier in the director's chair, Thunderbolts nails it. I just got a lot more excited for Avengers Doomsday. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe and click on the little bell. And also seize the day and call your mom and be kind to yourself.